Football season's here again, man. It's September. Football fever is everywhere. We got the NCAA, we got NFL, we got Pee Wee, we got high school. Football everywhere. We got Madden 2016. I'm like pumped up. It's Madden time again, once again. I can't lie, I'm kind of getting sick of Madden. I mean, I've been playing Madden forever. Madden was one of the first football games I ever played back in the early 90s. I love Madden 92, but Madden 2016, I mean, it's kind of starting to get a little bit old. I need something new this year. You know what? Madden's always still good, but I need something new. There's no Blitz, there's no NCAA football even. There's no even new Tecmo Bowl or any other equivalent. There's nothing out there other than Madden. Wait. Now this is what I'm talking about. Blood Bowl 2. I mean, just look at this cover. We got an orc and a human battling it out. It's football in a fantasy setting. I mean, this has got to be insane and violent and crazy and action-packed to the core. I can't wait to start playing this. Blood Bowl 2, of course, is the follow-up to the original Blood Bowl, but it's actually the third game with the Blood Bowl license to be released. The original was released a long time ago on PC only. Blood Bowl is a miniatures game, and from the same creators of the Warhammer series, known as Games Workshop. And the game itself is a strategy, tactical, fantasy sports game. I mean, originality alone, there's not a whole lot of games out there quite like Blood Bowl, so it's kind of worth that at least peek for curiosity's sake. Before we get farther into the review though, it's going to be a little bit hard to put a score on this, because I have to look at it two ways. Veterans of Blood Bowl and how they're going to react to this game, and then newbies like myself. Fully admit, I don't know a whole lot about the lore and backstory of Blood Bowl, and I've never really dove into it until this game, so I'm going to do my best to kind of explain how it works. Blood Bowl itself is a game that's an amalgamation of football and rugby. There are two teams, and of course, like football or rugby, your goal is to try to get the ball into the opponent's end zone. Doing so, you will get yourself a point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. The game itself is broken up into two halves with 8 turns each for, of course, a total of 16. And the game is a very slow-paced, monotonous game, so you have to adjust to that. You can't go into this game thinking it's going to be a knockout, drag-out fight at all moments. Every single movement of your characters has to be strategized and planned to think 2 or 3 steps ahead. It's kind of like a really massive chess match. The teams in Blood Bowl are broken up into different races, such as humans, dwarves, high elves, dark elves, as well as my personal favorite, the Skaven, which are these giant anthropomorphic rats. There's 2 races that were pre-order bonuses, which is kind of a downside, but there's 8 to select in the game, and each of the races have their different pluses and minuses, so mixing and matching which one you prefer over another one will take a little bit of experimenting, but it's fun experimenting to try out. Now for the players on each of the team, they're broken up into different positions. There's 11 players on the field for each team at any time. Now, players can get injured and knocked out of games and even killed, but defaultly there's 11 on the field, and they're broken up into different positions like runners, throwers, linemen, and blitzers, with all of them having different goals that you're going to be wanting to achieve with them. Each player also has stats, such as move allowance, how much they can move in a given turn. You'll have your strength. That determines, of course, how well you're going to be able to do in a fight and knock down other players. You have your agility, which is how well a player can handle the ball or throw the ball or even then run down the field with the ball in order to dodge the other players if they need to. And then you also have like your defense, your overall armor value, which allows you to take hits. How many hits can your player take before they end up knocked out or dead? When it comes to the on-field action, everything though is determined by dice roll. When you're moving into position and where you want to go, you'll get a percentage of how successful something could possibly be, so then you have to judge whether or not it's going to be worth that extra risk to try to do certain moves, and it really makes you think when you're planning out all your strategies. With it being very heavy on the dice, though, a lot of people are going to be a little bit turned off by this. It's going to be one of those deals where somebody who has a lot of luck keeps rolling high and easily mops an opponent, or you could be like me, who seemingly always gets bad rolls and half my team ends up knocked out after just a turn or two. Now, when it comes to the turns, you're given full reign of your team for a set amount of time, and then your opponent will get the go. During your turn, you move any player that you want to within where they're allowed to move, pick up the ball, decide to throw it, and you're allowed only a certain amount of things per turn. Like, you can only hand the ball off once or throw the ball one time during a given turn. However, one of the cool balancing things is if something goes wrong for you during a turn, your player is either knocked out or you fumble the ball or lose control of the ball, your turn's instantly over and your opponent then gets control fully just like you had until they either decide to end their turn running out of moves or something bad happens to them as well. There is a ton of minor little rules, details, and other things when it comes to the strategy of Blood Bowl, so it can actually be really overwhelming if you try to just jump into even just a friendly match if you've never played Blood Bowl before. However, they have a great mode for us. Not only are there tutorials, but for newbies like us, we actually have a campaign mode. The campaign mode is a narrative, story-driven experience, but it is basically a giant tutorial. Each of the matches that you play throughout the campaign slowly add new rules and new elements of the main game of Blood Bowl, and as you go through it by the end, you'll probably have enough skill built up in order to actually face some real opponents, whether they be the AI in the game or even jumping online or playing multiplayer with a friend. The campaign story is told through a lot of like cutscenes. You have Cabal Vision, which is basically like a cable news network, and you have Bob Biffert, this giant ogre, and Jim Johnson, this vampire, who bicker back and forth and tell the story that's going on. They're basically working as the announcers, and the voice acting, while it's not the most blown away amazing thing ever, they do tell a nice story, and they have some good chemistry between the characters, and it's a decent plot for what it is. I mean, how many sports games out there really have a full-blown plot?
Good evening to all you Cabal Vision viewers out there in the old world and beyond. I hope your crystal ball is fully charged, and if not, find yourselves a wizard and chain him to it, because the 25-13 season promises to be one hell of a show, doesn't it, Bob?
It sure does. Oh, and iron, Jim.
Iron what, Bob? Your shirt?
Chains, Jim. Iron chains for chaining up your wizard. Iron is best. It's harder to enchant than steel or silver. Oh, and don't forget to break their fingers as well.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, fascinating. And we may come back to that later.
So it works well, and like I said, the main focus of campaign is a tutorial in the end. Now, for those being like, well, where's my single player experience? That's going to be more reserved for your friendlies and league competition. When you get into the league competition, you can create your own team. Pick what race you want, what color scheme you want for your team. You can pick the arena that the team plays at and even get sponsorships for your team and buy the players individually for your team. You can then take that team and go into league play, which you can play by yourself in a single player experience, and there's various different types of league, like round robin or a knockout tournament, as well as just full-blown season leagues. You can also take that same team that you level up and get used to and take them online or play local multiplayer with a friend. There is a lot of customizable options when it comes down to just the league play, so the campaign and league play alone is a lot of content and you'll be spending a lot of hours in these modes. I do have to say though that veterans of Blood Bowl may be a little bit turned away from the campaign mode since there's no way to like turn off the whole tutorial aspect of it, so you may just want to stay away from the campaign and focus more on league play of creating your team. But trust me, even a veteran, if you take out the campaign mode, there's enough stuff going on with league that you'll have enough fun with the game to warrant picking it up. Now, with online play, you can easily get in a match with a friend. Just go to your friend list, select invite, but then when it comes to facing off against random opponents, you'll have to go into a league, and there's a lot of leagues already set up, and they may be based on different things. Like, they may have different formats, like a newbie league, rookie league, or a veteran league, or like an all-star league, or whatever various names people want to give it. And then when you search for a matchup, it finds someone that's already a part of the league that you're in and matches you up against them, and then you go online. For the few matches I did play online, I didn't do so well, but more importantly, the matches played well. I wasn't running into really any lag or anything like that, so if there's any connection issues or the game messing up, that's more than likely just a bad connection with yourself or whoever you are playing against online. You can also go into Cabal mode on the main menu and check out not only replays of your own matches, but replays of community matches or possibly your friends' matches. If you're in a league with somebody, you could watch some of their replays and kind of figure out their strategies of how they play and then use that against them in an upcoming matchup. Presentation-wise, the game is great. I was looking at a couple of videos from the older Blood Bowl game just to see how it compares to now, and the graphics are completely overhauled. It's a beautiful looking game, especially when you get into the matches. Everything runs smoothly, the camera's great, you can zoom in and out. There's pretty much any position you would prefer the camera, whether you're right behind the players that you're using or doing a top-down view on them. Any way you want, it works, and it's never really any slowdown. Now, there are a few minor things I would have preferred, like maybe some more stadiums or some more unique touches, maybe some halftime shows instead of just kind of nothing there, but that's very minor things, and I wouldn't take any points off from the game. I just think it could have made Blood Bowl even that more better than it already is. Blood Bowl 2 is kind of a hard game to give a solid rating to. For me, being a sports fanatic and a hardcore nerd, this is a great combination of the two. I think veterans of Blood Bowl are going to absolutely love all the new features. The graphic system alone is probably worth picking this up, especially if you like the older Blood Bowl game or you're a fan of the miniature series altogether. However, for newbies like myself, you have to go into Blood Bowl 2 knowing this is going to be a learning experience. This isn't a game that you're going to be able to pick up and play through it and be good at it. If you go right online, you're going to get your butt kicked. Even against the AI opponents in the friendly matches, you'll probably get beat pretty bad unless you're already a very good strategy player. Like if you play other miniature games, you maybe have a chance, but if you're not used to that kind of gameplay, go into the campaign mode and go in with the thought process, I'm going to give this a real good try and see if I can get into it. It's not for everyone. In fact, it's actually for a small handful of people that are going to truly appreciate Blood Bowl. However, for its whole presentation, for the campaign mode, the league mode with its customization and creating teams and online mode, overall, Blood Bowl 2, I have to give a 7. Its presentation is spectacular, and there's a lot here to do. If you're willing to learn the game, you're gonna have a blast. That is going to wrap up this review of Blood Bowl 2. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoy.